Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and I'm back today to do another video. Today, as you can see from the title, I'm going to be going over all of the absurd number of books that I bought myself or were gifted to me for my birthday. I also included all of my book of the month books from January and February just to kind of have an overarching, like all the books I've bought since 2021 has started. I'm hoping that for a while I won't buy books because I am still trying to reduce my physical TBR, and this definitely set me back like a lot of books. So let's just get right into things. I'm not going to go into a ton of depth about any of these books, in large part because I haven't read them yet, and also this is the third video that I'm filming today, and while you will not see those videos until later, I am getting ready to be done with filming. So I'm going to go over these books relatively quickly, but if any of them interest you, I will be sure to list them all out down in the description box below, and you can kind of check them out at your leisure. So starting with the books that are the most lighthearted and moving into the kind of more intense books, I thought would be a fun way to do this. So I will also try to mention where I acquired these books, as most of them came from independent bookstores. So the first of which is A Duke by Default by Alyssa Cole. This is a contemporary romance novel that's the second in her Reluctant Royals series. This one follows the friend of the first one, whose name I can't remember, but her name is Portia, and she gets involved with a Scottish duke, I think, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. I don't know a ton about this one. But this one I actually bought along with a few of the other books at Half Price Books about 2 weeks before my birthday, which was a mistake because I accidentally ended up buying one of the books that my sister was hoping to get me for my birthday, and that was the whole thing. She was very mad that I decided to splurge on books 2 weeks before my birthday, but I did, and this is one of the books that I got. Super excited to continue on in this series. I read the first one now like several years ago, so excited to read more Alyssa Cole, and she actually appears later in this book haul as well. Then speaking of the book that I bought myself and then my sister exchanged it to get the one that she actually bought me, which is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This one is one of the most well-beloved romance books on BookTube, so I'm super excited to give it a try. I didn't love the first one, which was Get a Life, Chloe Brown, but I feel like this one, which is a like fake dating situation, which is one of my favorite tropes, hopefully will work a bit better for me than the first one did. I mean, I did enjoy the first one, but I'm hoping I will enjoy this one even more. Then another romance novel, I have The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. This one also came from Half Price Books and is another like BookTube romance book darling. And this one is a second chance romance, I think, between two married people. And their relationship is strained, and he is going to realize that he's let his pride and fear get the better of him. So he joins this romance book club, which is a bunch of like very bro-y dudes who read romance novels to like save their relationships. And I've just heard that this series is really fun and that this first one's really good, so excited to check it out for myself. Then from Charis Books and More, which is a feminist bookstore here in Atlanta, I got Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. This is a romance novel that follows our like male lead person who's on a Game of Thrones like show, and also writes fan fiction for his show because he doesn't like how his character is portrayed, which I find very funny. And then our female lead is a geologist, but she also is involved in the fandom, and I think she and him know each other in the fandom, but she doesn't know that he's on the show, blah blah blah. They fall in love. Sounds fun. And then from Book of the Month, I got Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers, which I've been seeing a lot around BookTube, I assume because it was a Book of the Month pick. And this is a female-female romance that follows our main character, who has recently completed her PhD, and to celebrate she goes to Vegas with her friends, gets very drunk, and accidentally marries another lady, and so the two of them have to learn how to kind of be together and also get their lives together, so excited about that one as well. Then moving into some like contemporary books, which I don't quite think are literary fiction, but have a bit more kind of depth to them. The first of which is my other Alyssa Cole book, which is When No One Is Watching. This is Alyssa Cole's thriller slash almost horror debut that is about gentrification and follows our main character, who is living in Brooklyn and is slowly watching her neighborhood be gentrified, and there's perhaps something more sinister at play here. So she and one of her new white neighbors begin to kind of investigate what is truly happening with all this gentrification. Sounds really good. I definitely like a topic that I think would work really well for a thriller, so I'm excited to dig into this one. And this one came from one of my used bookstores here in Atlanta, which is Eagle Eye Bookshop. I love them because they have great prices on a lot of like pretty hyped titles from like 2 or 3 months later. I think there are many patrons like me who will read a book pretty shortly after its release, and then if I didn't love it, I will give it back to them. And so you can often find great books like this that are in like great condition, even though they only came out like 4 or 5 months ago. Then another mystery novel, we have Even As We Breathe by Annette Saunooke. Clapsaddle is the first member of the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Nation. to publish a novel, I believe. So quite an accomplishment here. The Eastern Band is the part of the Cherokee Nation that lives in the Appalachian region of North Carolina. It is like the Cherokee Reservation there. I have driven through. It's right next to Great Smoky Mountains National Park, so my dad and I have come that way back to Atlanta before, and it is definitely a very beautiful part of the country. And this book is set there outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and it's a historical mystery that follows, I believe, a Cherokee man who is working in World War II at a hotel, and I believe gets accused of murder or gets involved somehow in a murder investigation. I've heard really good things about this one from both Kendra Winchester and also Jacqueline from 6 Minutes From Me, both of whom talked about how the nature writing in this and the kind of place setting within the Smoky Mountains is really well done, which is a large part of why I was interested in this one, as that is a place that I really appreciate and think is very beautiful. So I wanted to kind of see how it was done in this book. And this one I got from Mattress and Quinn, which is a independent bookstore in Minneapolis. Then the next one is a historical western, which is Outlawed by Anna North, which, as you can see, they kind of covered it up. It's a book of the month book that I got in January, and this one I believe is subverting a lot of the western genre. I've heard it's very feminist. People seem to be really enjoying it. I'm excited to get to it. And then the next two are also from book of the month, and the next one is also by an indigenous author from the Cherokee Nation, I believe. Yes, although he is a member of the Western Band, which is in Oklahoma. This is The Removed by Brandon Hobson, which was another book that I got in my January Book of the Month box. And I believe this one also has some mysterious elements. I think it's about a family whose teenage son has been killed, and so they're kind of looking back into investigating that. Not entirely sure, and I've seen a little bit of mixed reviews about this one, but I am excited and definitely want to be incorporating more indigenous literature into my reading, so excited to get to this one at some point. And then in my February Book of the Month box, I got The Kindest Lie by Nancy Johnson. This is a contemporary novel that takes place in 2009 in Chicago, shortly after Barack Obama's inauguration, and it follows a pretty well-to-do black couple who the husband of the couple wants to have a child and the wife really does not, and that is in large part because she has this secret child that she left in rural Indiana, where she is from, when she was a teenager, and she has since not looked back. And so it's kind of uncovering, I think, that secret, but also talking about kind of being left behind in rural places and just rural life in general. So I'm excited about this one as well. I don't know why I'm saying I'm excited about all of these books, because obviously I'm excited, Jenny, you bought them. Anyway, now moving into some of the more kind of literary fiction books that I've acquired. The first of which was for my March TBR, because it was one of my Reading Woman prompt books that I'm hoping to get to, and that's Island Beneath the Sea by Isabel Allende. This one I got as a used copy from Powell's, and I actually just noticed that this one has like writing in it. Otherwise it's totally like unused, brand new, but it had a feather in it and some like little notes and stuff, which I think is always so fun. But this is a literary historical fiction novel that takes place in the 1700s and follows an enslaved woman on St. Dominique, I think, through her life. Then again, from Half Price Books, I got The Atlas of Reds and Blue by Devi Laskar. This one takes place here in Atlanta, I think in a northern suburb, and begins with the main character in this book lying on her driveway having been shot by the police, and I think kind of goes back from there through different vignettes throughout her life. And I think this book talks a lot about immigration and isolation, and also being a person of color in America married to a white person. So I'm super excited about this one, particularly given that this author is local to Atlanta, and I always like reading books that are set here. And then another book that I got at Half Price Books was These Ghosts Are Family by Maisy Card. This one came out last year and is another literary fiction novel that follows several decades of a family after a man in the 1970s who emigrated from Jamaica to London ends up taking on a different identity after someone who he works with ends up dying on the job, and it's believed that he has died instead of the other person. So he takes on a new persona and has a whole other family and stuff, and then this book is kind of following after his death, and the two families are like realizing that the other one exists and kind of talking about family and relationships and secrets, which are all things that I enjoy reading about. Then another book from Mattress and Quinn, and quite a short one at that. We have F-Face, I don't want to say that on camera, and Other Stories by Leah Hampton. These are short stories that are set in a post-coal Appalachia, and again, I've heard really good things about this one from Kendra Winchester, whose recommendations about Appalachian lit I really trust, and that is also a genre of literature that I really enjoy. So whenever Kendra really enjoys a book, I am likely to pick it up, and this is one that she has hyped up quite a bit, so I've been super excited about it, and it's teeny tiny, so hopefully we'll be getting to this one soon. Also, I love the frog on the cover. That's so fun. finally, the last literary fiction book before we get into all the nonfiction I've acquired is another book of the month pick. This one I think from January, and that's The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. This is a historical fiction novel that takes place in the pre-Civil War South and follows two queer men who are enslaved on the same plantation, and it is following their love story. And I believe obviously tragic things are going to happen because that entire premise just is filled with tragedy. So excited about this one. Seen a few mixed reviews since it came out, but overall it has been pretty positive, so hopefully we'll get to this one sooner rather than later as well. Then moving into the number of nonfiction books that I got, the first of which is one that I actually acquired for my dad back for his birthday in October, and I've wanted my own copy ever since because I feel bad like literally stealing his copy. So I did decide that this birthday book haul, wherein I got a gift card and other things, that this would be the time to get this book, and that's All We Can Save: Truth, Courage, and Solutions for the Climate Crisis, edited by Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson and Kathleen K. Wilkinson. As you can see from the subtitle, this one is all about a number of different female writers, poets, policymakers, educators, activists, all talking about solutions to the climate crisis and how we can prepare to have climate resiliency both in the United States and globally. So I'm super excited about this one. Hopefully we'll be digging into it very soon. I'm hoping to have a pretty environmentally centered April reading, so this will probably be read during that month. Then these books are in no order, by the way, except for the general genre patterns that you've been seeing. So then I picked up two books for the BookTube prize, the first of which was available as a book of the month, and this was the easiest way to get it, was The Splendid and the Vile by Erik Larson. This is a historical nonfiction book that's about a saga of Churchill, family, and defiance during the Blitz. As I said, I'm reading this for the BookTube prize. Was not super excited about reading this one because, as I think I've mentioned previously on my channel, World War II is not my favorite time period to read about, both in fiction or nonfiction, but hopefully this one will be pretty engaging. I know that Erik Larson is pretty well beloved here on BookTube, so I have high hopes for this one. And then I also had to get a copy of Eat the Buddha: Life and Death in a Tibetan Town by Barbara Demick. This one was one that I was a bit more excited about after learning about it from the NPR Book Concierge, and they raved about it. And this one is about a small community in Tibet and basically their relations with China since the Cultural Revolution in 1949 and the kind of resistance and activism against China's like communist regime. And this one I ended up getting from Barnes & Noble, so not super exciting, but that was the only place that it was available at the time that I was looking to acquire it. And then the next book on my pile is also from Madras and Quinn, and this is Two Trees Make a Forest by Jessica J. Lee. The subtitle on this one is In Search of My Family's Past Among Taiwan's Mountains and Coasts. So I've been super intrigued about this one ever since I think I heard Mercedes at Mercy's Bookish Musings talk about it. It is part memoir, part kind of ecological natural history of Taiwan, which is a place that I know very little about, as evidenced by my reading of The Poppy War by R. Huang. So I'm super excited to learn more about Taiwan and its ecology and natural history, and also experience kind of Jessica J. Lee's intermingling of her family history with the kind of natural history of a region. I feel like that sounds like the type of nonfiction book that I would really enjoy. Then the next nonfiction book is also from Charis, the bookstore here in Atlanta, and that's Yellowbird. The subtitle on this one is Oil, Murder, and a Woman's Search for Justice in Indian Country by Sierra Crane Murdoch. Murdoch is not a member of an indigenous nation, I don't believe, but this book is tracking the presence of an oil company in, I believe, an Ojibwe reservation in North Dakota, and the kind of activism and resistance against that by Yellowbird as well as other people in the community. So I've heard this one is really good. Obviously the New York Times seemed to have really enjoyed it, and it definitely again seems like one that's kind of interweaving investigative journalism, environmentalism, and indigenous rights, which are all things that are of interest to me. So again, another one I'm super excited about. And also this one like was just the tiniest bit damaged. I don't even know if you can see that, and they gave me like 20% off, which is why I love Charis Books and More. So show them some love if you're looking for an independent feminist bookstore to support, because they gave me a discount on this book when honestly they could have made it full price and that would have been fine with me. Then the next book is also from Powell's, where I was able to find a used copy, and that's The Address Book: What Street Addresses Reveal About Identity, Race, Wealth, and Power by Deidre Mask. Deidre Mask is a Black author, and this book, as it says on the subtitle, is about addresses and what they have kind of shown historically, I assume particularly in America, although maybe this has a global approach, I'm not entirely sure. And basically discussions of redlining, I'm sure, and also just the history of segregation through like planning policies and zoning policies, which is something I'm very interested in, so excited to dig more into that topic through this book. Then my other sister got me this nonfiction book, which is Vanishing Fleece, Adventures in American Wool by Clara Parks. This is Clara Parks' kind of memoir, but also primarily a journey through learning about American wool production from sheep farmers all the way to kind of yarn creation, which I am not a big craft person, but I do appreciate learning more about sustainable fashion and sustainable fabrics and also just sustainability in general. And I've heard that this is a really fun kind of look at a specific element of sustainability, particularly with like sustainable crafting and craftivism and stuff. So excited about this one as well. And also it's teeny tiny, so hopefully we'll be able to get to this one soon. And then we're getting down to the bottom of my pile. Then I also got a copy of Fathoms the World in a Whale by Rebecca Giggs, which this just has one of the most beautiful covers I've literally ever seen, which is in large part why I've been interested in it. But Rebecca Giggs is a writer out of Australia, and this is part a natural history slash kind of ecology of whales book, but also kind of more ruminations on humans and their relationships to animals and nature more broadly, particularly through the lens of whales and the history of kind of the injustices that humans have done against whales through whaling and overfishing and all sorts of other things like that. So super excited about this one. Again, I love a book that kind of talks about the human impacts on the environment, and this one seems to have that as a central thesis of this book. So again, another one I'm excited about. Then my last book before I have two cookbooks to quickly share is Wandering in Strange Lands, A Daughter of the Great Migration Reclaims Her Roots by Morgan Jerkins. This one is again another kind of part memoir, part something else book, which seems to be a subgenre of nonfiction that really works for me. And so this is Morgan Jerkins' research and personal travels through the South to kind of retrace the steps of a lot of people who moved through the Great Migration. So in this book, Morgan Jerkins travels through primarily the states in the South where people were leaving, but also I believe visits places such as Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago, where a number of people ended up. And so she's both tracking her own family's lineage, but also the lineage of people that moved through the Great Migration more broadly. So another one that I'm super excited about. And this one I actually was in large part inspired to pick up because of The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee, which I read earlier this month and really enjoyed. It talked a lot about the Great Migrations and kind of migratory patterns in general, and this one seemed like a book that would kind of tie nicely to a lot of those themes. So I hopefully will be digging into this one soon. And then I also got two cookbooks, the first of which I found used for $10, which I thought was an awesome deal, too good a deal to pass up, and that is Turnip Greens and Tortillas by Eddie Hernandez. This is a Mexican chef spices up the Southern kitchen. So Eddie Hernandez is the primary chef slash owner of a local chain here in Atlanta called Taqueria del Sol, which is a great Mexican restaurant. Would highly recommend if you're ever in the Atlanta area. They have a fried chicken taco, which is one of the best things just like in the world. I love their fried chicken taco so much, and honestly that's the main reason that I wanted to have this book, is that I do think that at some point in the near future I will likely not be living here anymore, and I want to be able to make fried chicken tacos for myself. So pretty much all of the things on their menu are included in this book, which is a little odd to me, but at the same time I'm not complaining. So I kind of wanted this book just as a like memento of Atlanta, even though I'm not leaving for the next several months at the very least. But I have wanted this book for a while just because it does have a lot of the restaurant recipes in it, or at least variations that they decided they wanted to print. So I wanted a copy for myself of that. And then last but not least, at Charis, again, the independent feminist bookstore, which actually one of my best friends got me a gift card there, which I forgot to mention earlier in this video, but thank you so much, Melanie. I know you watch all my videos, so hello. I also got In Bibi's Kitchen, which the subtitle on this cookbook is the recipes of grandmothers from the 8 African countries that touch the Indian Ocean. So the 8 countries included here are Eritrea, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, South Africa, Madagascar, and Comoros, which I've mentioned previously, but I studied abroad in Tanzania, and so I've missed ever since I got back eating Tanzanian food, as that's not something that really has kind of traveled over to America, or I don't think anywhere besides Tanzania. And so I wanted a book that kind of captured some of those East African recipes that I remember, and this seemed like one of the best books to do so. This is a relatively recent publication. I think it came out towards the latter half of 2020, but since hearing about it I've been intrigued to get it, and having a gift card for my birthday seemed like a great way to do so. So I'm super excited about kind of digging into this one and reading more of the stories. This is a lot more text heavy. Here's, for example, Ma Vicky, who is from, it says she's from she's from Tanzania. How fun is that? So it has like an interview with each of the grandmothers that just kind of discusses what their kind of remembrance of eating food and making food was in their home country. Many of them still live in the country that is being kind of featured, but a lot of them are also here in the United States, and then they share a recipe from their actual kitchen. So I really enjoy the format of this cookbook, and I'm excited to kind of dig more into it in the future. So those are all of the very many, I think I counted them and there's like 24 or 25 books. If you're interested in reading any of these books, do let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to have a buddy or a pal to read any of them with. Additionally, if you are new to my channel through this video, I'd love to have you stick around and subscribe. I hope you're having a great rest of your day whenever you are watching this, and I will talk to you next time.